Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is in your neck of the woods. Welcome to another edition of Worldbuilders Weekly. Woo! Hey, I have a thing up there that I didn't mean to have up there, like that. There we go. And also that. Yes. Obviously, we are operating like a finely tuned machine, just like always. Hello, everybody in chat. Really nice to see you all. It is not Monday, and we are all happy about that. As you may notice, I am joined today by a co-host and guest. Zoe, want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Zoë Rickenbach, and I am the graphic designer at Worldbuilders.
Yes.
And also an author, which is what we're here to talk about.
Yes, but of course, as usual, before we start going, we have to talk about some of our other things. So one thing that's really cool, and I'm looking at my show notes, and our wonderful social media manager put in the notes that we are about to set up a podcast version of Worldbuilders Weekly. That's right. If you aren't able to watch the video, you'll be able to subscribe and get it on a podcast, which means we need to make sure that we describe things visually as we're doing it. For example, in the video version of things, we have a beautiful globe over to one side that has weekly and the Worldbuilders logo spinning around. And of course, our URL, which is twitch.tv/worldbuilders. You'll also be able to catch these replays on our YouTube channel as well, which also happens to be called Worldbuilders. My name's Gray. I'm the executive director here at Worldbuilders and occasional host. And every week here on Worldbuilders Weekly, we bring you latest news from Worldbuilders, treasures and special deals from the marketplace, our Trivia Tuesday question, all kinds of nerdy tangents, and plenty of geeks doing good stories that you help us make happen with your incredible support. And if we're lucky, days like today, we get someone like Zoe Rickenbach, the author, illustrator, and brand new graphic designer here at Worldbuilders, to chat about everything else. So Zoe, thank you for taking some time out of your busy workday to join us here.
Well, I've got a pretty generous boss, so,
Well, you need to make sure you tell her that we appreciate her generosity in letting you take the time to work at a nonprofit like this. So
I certainly will.
I appreciate that, yeah. But beforehand, we have some exciting news. Some of you, in fact, hey, Zoe, cover for me. I'll be right back.
Okay. Let me sing you a song. I'm not going to sing you a song. That would be a terrible thing. You really don't want me to do that. I
just realized that I had a visual aid for this. So, well, you may have heard that recently Naomi Novik, the author, came out with the first book in a new series. It's called the Skullamonts series. And I'm going to both hold up the book, which has a beautiful Deadly Education is the title, and it's got a very sort of Art Deco kind of design on it. And she has been kind enough to agree to do some of the book plate signings that we've been doing. In fact, you can see here on the screen, not that one, there we go. Our wonderful friend Julia Madalena has designed a book plate, Worldbuilders exclusive, for this particular book signing. Now, here's the thing. You can order this right now on Worldbuilders. Worldbuildersmarket.com. You go in, type in Novik. You'll find this book, nice hardcover, available to get right now. But we won't be shipping it right away because we want to get these book plates sent out. And we're going to have a live signing of the book plates. It's going to be Saturday at 7 p.m. Central Time on twitch.tv/worldbuilders. And she has, unfortunately, some tendinitis. So all of her virtual book tour signings are limited to 25 signings. Now, we could have gone two ways with this. We could have said, there's 25 of these that are available for somebody with lots of money, and if you pay extra, you get that, and the rest of you just have to go ahead and do it. We could also have done like a lot of our other virtual events where you have to buy a book in order to attend the virtual event. If you've been hanging around World Builders, most of you longer than I have, you know that's not really the way we like to do things. We like to have things more equitable. We like to open things up, make things more accessible to everybody. So, first thing is, anybody can tune in. You don't have to buy a book first. Come on over and listen to Naomi talk about her book, 7 p.m. on this Saturday. And that, for those of you who are playing along on on audio, that'll be October 17th of 2020. Who knows when you're listening to this? So that'll be happening. And if you order one of the hardcover books before then, you will be entered into the random drawing to get a book plate. That means that you might get a book that has a signed World Builders exclusive Naomi Novik book plate. In fact, I probably can talk her into numbering them. There's only 25 of these that are ever going to exist. So they will be very exclusive. It could be a really nice, lucky thing to get. And if you do, please make sure you let us know about it so we can cheer and be happy. So that is a very exciting thing. And I know Julia is in the chat there. Julia, again, you have been amazing to create this another exclusive bookplate for us. And it is gorgeous. So that's that one. And hey, I think we get to show something. I think you did this one, Zoe. Did you do that image? Can you see the image? I don't know if you're looking at Twitch right now.
I'm running Twitch, but I can't see the image. What is the image of? I might be a little behind.
It's Zoe modeling some of our fall designs.
Yep.
Yes. Well, there's a reason that I'm showing this. Aside from the fact that, hey, it's fall, people are going to need masks, we realize at World Builders that the whole need for a mask is not going to go away anytime soon. And we wanted to make it easier for people to go ahead and get the masks. And obviously, I don't know about you, but I sometimes, Zoe, do you have a favorite mask? Or do you go by masking by your mood? Like, I'm in the mood for this one, or I don't know,
I have some in my house. I have some in my car. So
Right.
It depends on where I am and which one. I have 3 in my car, so I have options.
Right, exactly. We like options and we like surprises. We like having something to look forward to. That's why Mike, our shop person, store manager, I can talk, really. Our store manager, Mike, has made it up so we now have a 3-month subscription for masks available. And the way this would work is that every month we would ship you on the 15th a new mask. And the mask would come from either a science fiction, a fantasy, or a, hey, give me whatever looks interesting genre. If you subscribe, you get to save 20% on each mask. And we have now decided whether you buy 1 mask, whether you buy 5 masks, we're including shipping. How can we do that? That's because we've had people donating to the Mask Hero Initiative, and the whole idea is that we're trying to get more masks out there. So we appreciate your help. There's a little bit of fine print about there's a 5-day buffer period when you subscribe. You can see that on the website, and it will be in new and awesome stuff. Let me see if I suppose they have a new awesome area. There we are. You can find out more about this in the new awesome. Why is it not showing? There we go. That's where it is. World Builders Market Collections New Dash Awesome. You can find that particular mask subscription. So if you are like us, you're like, yep, I'm going to need more masks, and yeah, I don't want to go to the trouble of having to go out and pick a new one. I want to be surprised and say, wow, this is cool. That's fine. This is a way we like to do it. You can also always still donate, so we can send masks for free to people. And if you need a mask, you can still do that one. I was in the World Builders, or was it World Builders? I think it was the World Builders Discord, and some people were talking about the fact that the original mask keepers that we sent out, some of them have broken. Now, we do 3D print these ourselves, so that is entirely possible that there were some manufacturing defects in them. So 2 things. One, if you have one that broke, send us a note and we will send you another one. No cost, absolutely for free. We'll just send you another one. If you really want to, we will send you one of these, which is the World Builders Mask Keeper, which we designed. So that's only if you want to have World Builders across the back of your head. You can also print that out on Thingiverse. If you go to thingiverse.com, which is a place where you put 3D printing stuff, that is a model up there for World Builders. So feel free to print out your own. But I'm sorry that the ones that went out there, some of them broke, and please do give us send us an email to questions@worldbuilders.org and let us know that you need another one, and we will get it out to you. So I'm checking to see if there's any questions in the chat about all this stuff. Yeah, so Kat said, COVID is never going away, so you might as well get some good masks. I agree. And I will also say, when we talk about good masks, we have now both the kind that Zoë is modeling there on and ones like this, where it will go to fit your face. And this is good for people who find those other ones slightly too small. That's the one I wore today. So, all right. Hey, Jeannie. Nice to see you. Let's see what's next. See, if Zoe's not here, I just lose track of things. How am I doing, Zoë?
You're doing great.
Yay. You're doing. All right. Let's go to trivia. It's Trivia Tuesday. So this is last week's question. Zoë, did you already look up the answer, or do you know the answer?
What was last?
The question was, the current speed record for solving a 3x3x3 Rubik's Cube is 3.47 seconds. What is the name of the person who set that record?
I don't remember.
Well, I will first of all say I was not prepared because I did not look up the correct pronunciation of this person's name, and it is not a name that I'm familiar with. So I will apologize in advance for the likely mispronunciation of this name, but the answer is Yusheng Du. Set the world record at the Woohoo Open 2018 of 3.47 seconds for a 3x3x3 cube. Personally, I can't even I can do one side. We determined this last week.
That's pretty much what I can do.
Yeah, it doesn't. Although the one that really freaks me out, have you seen the people that like juggle them and solve them at the same time?
Yes.
I
think anybody that can solve them is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But juggling, yeah.
Hey, a person who happens to speak Chinese says I did an okay job with the pronunciation. Thanks. Yay. Yeah, they juggle. Look it up. They juggle them, and then digital ones that change the colors in real time? Wait, while you're trying to solve it, it'll change the colors on you? That I don't think that seems like, you know what that's like? That's like that game Flux. Have you ever played the card game Flux?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's a maddening game because the rules for how to win change as you go. So you can be working and be just about to win, and then suddenly a rules change and you totally lose. I hated it when I first played it, and then I got a Firefly version of the game because they have different versions. They have a Doctor Who version too. And when it was a Firefly version of the game, I was fine. I loved it because Firefly is, part of the thing is that the goalposts change and things happen. So
I would like that. A Firefly one I could do.
I almost when I had now I kind of go, well, they make all the different versions of Flux. Maybe we need a World Builders Flux. I'm not sure what would happen in that, but And actually, that's a dangerous road to go down. So we will just go on to the next trivia question. Next week's trivia is, well, shoot, which one is it? Oh, there we are. Now remember, before I show this, we don't answer in the chat. You send the DM to answer this to be entered into the prize drawing. Speaking of which, I should ask my producer if we happen to know who is the current winner for last month's. So anyway, we will go on in the next question. Going back to tradition. In traditional combat, the sai is carried in a pair. So what is the name of the Ninja Turtle whose weapon is the double sai? I'm kind of curious, and I should know this. I wasn't a huge Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan, but I was definitely in that demographic and in that time when they came out. So I don't know if the double sai is like two sai that have two blades, or would it just be two sai?
I think it's two when they
just normal shapes. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. You like that demonstration?
Gotcha. Okay. Luckily the chat is giving me that. I thought it might be some kind of a Darth Maul kind of, this dual lightsaber thing,
Oh, no.
Yeah, I since I like juggling and flipping things around, I always thought about having a sai, but decided not to. Who do you DM, Micronext has? That's a good question. So you can DM on any of our social media platforms. Twitter, it's Worldbuilders or WB_market. We have a Facebook page, Worldbuilders or Worldbuilders Market. We have a YouTube page. You could even send it to Worldbuilders in this chat right here. And if I get a direct message there, we'll count that as it too. So you just let us know. Oh, and obviously Julia answered too, even better than me. Cool. All right. Oh, yes, that's right. When I chose not to learn how to use the sai, that double-bladed thing, that means I decided not to. Thank you, Julia, for that. I think that Saucefire would be very proud right now. Very proud. That was impressive. All right, so yes, send your answers and comments, and you can win nifty prizes. Some of the prizes you might win are things like the Game of the Week. Check out that segue. It's almost like I've done this once or twice before. Yes, we have a Game of the Week every week that we have put out there, and board games are useful. This one's 10% off. It's called, oh man, what? Okay, note to person writing my scripts, we need to have absolutely double-check pronunciations before the time comes. Because first I almost mess up by luck of the draw, I managed to pronounce Yushengdu correctly, but now I have to pronounce Indian names. Johari is the name of it. Johari or Hari. Nestled in the heart of the city of, here we go, Jaipur, is that how you pronounce it? Jaipur, India, is the world-famous Johari Bazaar. Here, gem merchants, like yourself, try to be clever as they buy and sell gems, as well as gain prestige to come out on top. But beware of fakes and the occasional thief. It's a card-based game for 2 to 4 players and takes between an hour to hour and a half to play. It comes from our awesome friends at Mayfair Games, and it's 10% off this week. So if you're looking to improve, increase, or simply help support World Builders, we highly recommend that you come out there and get it. So Johari, apparently emphasis is on the end. All right, now I know something new. Hey, guess what? Now it's time to go to our guest. Welcome, Zoe. It's so nice to see you here. And I have way too many things that are still showing up here that should not be. That's not supposed to be out there. There we go. So, true story. I'm going to tell my part of the story first, which is that when we were looking for a graphic designer, We had Zoe's resume come through. And when we did the interview, when Zay and I were interviewing you, you told us about this book. And I told you at the time, I said, even if we don't hire you, we're still going to have a talk with you about this book. Because we already have a book that looks like a children's book, and we have to tell people specifically, this is not a children's book. And I kind of probably should tell anyone listening on a podcast or tell anyone who is listening out loud at home. We are about to enter a subject matter that will sound like we are talking about things that in some workplaces is not appropriate. That being said, in context, everything that we say is completely appropriate, and so there's nothing actually being said. It's just if somebody walks by, they may suddenly stop and give you a funny look. So that's the content warning that you're going to get. And with that, I will say, Zoe, I'm really glad that we did end up hiring you. You've been a great asset to Worldbuilders and a really fun person to hang out with and come onto the team. But today we're going to talk about your other life as the author and illustrator behind the book Dirty Birds, Real Birds with Real Names, written and illustrated by you. So before we talk about the book, I want to ask you, because I was what they called a returning adult student. Okay, I earned my degree starting at age 28. And I literally had someone say, 28? You don't look that old. But I was that old. And I think you started your degree even later than that. And I'm not going to ask you to tell, why or what age you were, or things like that, or what age you are. But what made you decide at a certain point in your life, you know what? I need a design degree.
Well, I started off with a wildlife degree. So this is actually my design degree was my second degree. So I started with a wildlife degree and tried to do wildlife and fisheries science stuff for some time and was unsuccessful at being very productive and getting jobs. I then went into another world and made computer maps. I did GIS work for quite some time. And then I started having children and I became a stay-at-home mom.
So that was from there, that's for sure.
Yeah, it all went downhill from there. So I became a stay-at-home mom, and then it was getting to the point where my kids didn't need me as much, and the choices were sit on the couch and do Netflix all day long, or go and get a job. And design just was something that was really fun to me, and I thought, yeah, let's try it. So yes, I was not 28 when I went for my hopefully final degree.
Always be learning, right?
What?
Always be learning, right?
Right. I was in my 40s, and I was not the oldest person in the degree program, but often older than most everybody else. So it was interesting.
Since this was your second degree, was your approach to school different the first time as opposed to the second time?
Well, not only was my approach to school different, but school was very different. Like when I went to Penn State, I was, right out of high school, and I'm sure they don't do this anymore, but they gave everybody a sheet of paper that said what your percentage of graduating was based on your GPA, which mine was horrible, and what your percentage of chances of graduating with an A or a B or a C. And my percentage of chance of graduating was so astronomically low. And then I came back and the situation was completely different. It was, hey, let's, include you. Let's see how we can make things better. Let's, how can we make. So aside from me having a different perspective, the whole school system has a different perspective. So
gotcha. Well, and now you're having to experience a whole different perspective because you have kids that are homeschooling at the same time, correct?
Yeah.
Wow, that look of horror on your face.
Yeah, homeschooling is When my son was in kindergarten, I tried for like 2 weeks to teach him how to tie his shoes. And that was when I discovered that there was zero chance I was ever going to homeschool because it was the most painful thing. And my second son, I never taught him how to tie his shoes. He learned somewhere else. Yeah.
Wow.
This is not my forte. Teaching is not teaching my children important life skills is not something I can do.
Gotcha. Okay, so so actually, I guess I have to include something else in terms of my own ignorance, especially since people in the chat have been saying, "Oh, GIS, that's awesome! I did some GIS work." What is GIS?
GIS is Global Information Systems, and mostly that's why I mostly say I make maps for a living. That's what I used to say to everybody because nobody knew what GIS was.
Back in my day, we called those cartographers, but
Well, this is different though. GIS is more you're taking information and so I worked for the International Crane Foundation. So one of the things that we did was we looked at where nests were and how close they were to roads and where birds might more likely to be successful for nests. So you're taking all of the road information and you're doing analysis on it.
Okay.
So it's a combination. It's not just a cartographer, but
Gotcha.
That's just the easiest way to describe it.
That's okay. I remember trying to describe working as a web developer to people before people understood that. I mean, even now when you say I'm a web developer, nobody knows. I mean, that could be any number of things, but it's a catch-all. And you're like, oh, okay, it's a real job now. That's awesome. And so, did that feed into this this book that you created here?
No.
So why did this book need to exist?
So the book needed to exist. I started when I was in an illustration class. We had to do 10 spot illustrations and of something that meant something to you. And I've always been interested in wildlife, and specifically birding. And
we're showing that image you sent me, by the way, now, just so you know.
Yes. And so when I did this illustration, I discovered that of the 10, a whole bunch of them were birds, and 2 of them were birds with inappropriate names. and I knew that there were so many more birds out there with names that you wouldn't normally say in the workplace.
Thank you. We're gonna frame this entire conversation real quick to be more inclusive and say that they are words that are sometimes considered inappropriate in many workplaces.
Yes.
Because there are certainly other ones where it is completely appropriate, or where there is no one normal way, but it does look good. So I just want to frame that, because as someone who has worked in many different workplaces, I was like, what do you mean inappropriate? I can talk about this if I want to.
I mean, you can talk about these all you want because they're real birds.
Yes, exactly. And there's no getting around that.
Yeah.
And Julia Madalena says it looks like you had a hoot drawing these.
Yeah, I did. Yes.
Are these digital or are these on paper?
So I drew them, they're a combination. So I painted the stuff separately. I drew them by hand, painted them separately, and then joined them in Illustrator.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Nice.
Photoshop. Maybe Photoshop. I can't remember.
So you were doing that, and you realized they had inappropriate names, and that led you to, now I'm showing the signature page, of Dirty Birds, Real Birds with Real Names, and the subtitle is A Collection of the Dirtiest Birds You Will Ever See. By the end of the book, you will wonder who in their right mind named these birds. And by the way, you'll also see a very nice signature there, and the books that we are going to be selling in the store are in her hands right now. So if you happen to buy one right now, she could actually, this is technically a book signing event where she could sign them right now. Oh, Julia, ouch. Oh, she wanted to point out that she regrets nothing.
I know, I saw that. That was terrible.
Oh, And then Scoiesbury says, "Oh, I can see where this is going here. Here I am trying to have a legit conversation with someone, about things, and everybody else just egging each other on." So you have a collection of the dirtiest birds. Who in the right mind named these birds? So to give you an example, I'm going to open up the the file that you conveniently sent, and it's called the Bush Tit Spread. Which is a open copy of the book with a lovely illustration of the bush tit, which looks kind of like a sparrow to me, really. It got like brown feathers, small beak, kind of thing. Yeah. And Zoe, do you want to read what that says on that page?
What does it say? It says, "This is Bobby Lou. Bobby Lou, this is actually named after my mother, who was Barbara Louise, but they wouldn't let her be called Barbara Louise. The nuns said that they weren't allowed to call her that. So they called her Barbara after that. But so this is Bobby Lou. Bobby Lou is a bush tit. Now bush tits are a lot smaller than a sparrow. Bobby Lou likes to hang out in the pussy willows. This is actually quite funny because I did this, I drew it, I wrote the words for it, and then realized that I wasn't exactly positive that bush tits and pussy willows are in the same place. And so I had to do a frantic search because I couldn't put it out there if it wasn't real.
Absolutely. That would be false information.
And found an area about this big where pussy willows and bush tits actually are in the same spot. So that was my panicked. I might have to change this and make it some other bird that hangs out in the pussy willows.
Nice. Well, I was gonna ask you whether or not these things were named after actual people, but the interesting thing is Saucefire came in late, and he's normally the person who does all the puns. So his challenge will be to come up with new puns. Now there have already been so many in the chat. I was going to try and keep up with them. I'm going to tell you, if you're listening to this, it's worth it to go to twitch.tv/worldbuilders and look at the chat from this particular episode, because there are some good ones there. So yeah, so this is an example of one of the ones. You also, because the illustrations are pretty cool, you also created stickers.
I did.
For them. And so we have, I thought I had a sticker up here. Apparently, there we go. So there's some book stickers that we have up there. Actually, that one is my favorite. I actually really like the Great Shag. Sam the Great Shag is, I think, my favorite sticker of them all.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite too.
Where are they local to? Do you remember?
I don't remember. They're kind of like cormorants.
Okay, I appreciate the vote of confidence that I really know anything about cormorants. Wait, seabird, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I mean, honestly, the most I know about birds is reading a lot of Chuck Wendig books. So,
okay.
Yeah. So, I can't crow about my own knowledge of birds and things like that. So, I'll go back to show those stickers. Do you have a favorite sticker that you like?
I like the shag one too.
The shag one too? Yeah.
Yeah. That one's one of my favorites.
Now, you also have one that is, it's not actually labeled. It is an unknown bird. Do you want to describe what that one is?
That's a Himalayan snowcock.
Yes, the Himalayan snowcock.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny that we're talking about a book about wordplay, and people are making more wordplay, and yet the wordplay is all completely appropriate because it's boy. Some of these are worse than, some of these are actually hurting a bit. Was there another thing I was going to say? No, I think that was going to be it. And so you've got stickers, you've got the book. Was it tough to come up with the decisions, or did you any other particular ones you named?
No, a couple of them, like I have a friend who's an author, and she read the book before I went into final publication, and she had to change a couple of them. I think just one, and I can't even remember what it was, but she's like, those kind of birds can't be named that. They have to be named this. And I don't even know why. So some of them are named after people I know and some of them are not. But okay. I did change it. I did change the one that she wanted because for whatever reason it was, that was just not what that bird was.
Okay. So here's a question for you. Mm-hmm. Are there some that you've discovered since then that you wish you had put in there?
Oh yeah, there are enough to do 2 or 3 more books.
All right, cool. Then I think, how would you? I'm going to put you on the spot here, and I'm going to also frame it in a contingent of saying we're not going to make the decision right now, but I just want to put the idea out there that we have an end of year fundraiser coming up, and one of the stretch goals or auction items could be something like having a new Dirty Bird sticker named after you.
Oh,
you know, yeah. That could be something to consider.
Yeah, it certainly could. I've considered and thinking about writing a sequel. There are actually enough tits to fill a whole book on its own.
Wait, I think I remember you mentioning that in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there are.
The Great Tit. Yeah.
There are 2, but there's I once read a scientific article called the Great Tits of Great Britain or something like that. There's Great Britain has a ton of different tits.
We apparently have driven someone to have to put on their headphones. But it's actually it's great that not only have you come up with this book, but you're still keeping abreast of the other types of birds that would have that kind of thing going on.
I've also thought about doing plants. There's a lot of plants. I think
that's on my list. I'm asking for a friend who might be named Zoë if there's a book of dirty plants coming up.
Well, yeah, and plants are not as fun to draw and make anthropomorphize as much. So I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I think you definitely have a thing to do. Now, when you did the illustrations for this, is this your preferred method of illustration, or did you do it strictly for the book?
So I did. I'm not much of an illustrator and haven't ever. This is my first foray into illustrating, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. So before I did this, if you had said to me, "Hey, you're going to illustrate a book," I would have said, "No, there's no chance that's going to happen." But I just got inspired and did it. So, and I did all of these. These are all done in Procreate.
Oh, okay. Cool.
On an iPad. So that's how these are done.
Nice. We have now had to adjust the chat to allow the term tits. Yes, that's true. We and basically Lilith Skyfae has pointed out we have to basically start allowing some foul language.
Yes, foul, funny.
So the what other kinds of art do you enjoy? I mean, obviously Procreate. Was that something you do for fun, or is that something because I know you have to use it for work, and Illustrator and things like that. I mean, when you do art for you, how does that work?
I don't do as much art for me as I should. My art form naturally is photography.
Oh, that thing behind you is one of them, right?
Yes, and this thing behind me is one of my photographs. And I love photography. I love to take pictures of birds and wildlife and landscapes. And so that is probably my biggest art form, and the one that I, enjoy the most.
Nice. Have you been able to do much during your COVID time?
Not as much as I wish.
It seems like one of those few things you can actually keep doing, And
yeah, I'm finding it difficult to do very much during COVID. I'll be honest. Yeah, I'm finding it difficult to get motivated. But I did get motivated and get a job, so I feel like that's pretty awesome.
I mean, there's that, and we are keeping you busy. What are your your coping mechanisms? Anything you want to share? You don't have to share them all, obviously, but
I find that getting out and spending time with friends, like even in a parking lot 6 feet away, we sit down and I have a group of friends that we meet every week in a parking lot, and sometimes we bring alcoholic drinks and sometimes we just bring snacks, and it's just super fun to kind of hang out. I am being distracted by the chat over here.
yeah, and actually you've been very good. I don't think you've made any puns yet. We're talking about the whole thing.
No.
So
I will say though that at one point my son was playing a video game that involved I think he was a giant egg. Have you ever heard of this video game? And you go around and you shoot other eggs, and then they turn into, and he stopped playing because we kept saying, things like, I'm not joking about that. You got to stop playing that game. And he's like, I can't stand your puns about this game anymore. So we stopped playing.
Oh.
I feel a little guilty about it, but not tremendously.
Well, I heard that. Let's talk about your geekiness a little bit. I mean, you know that I'm a big Trek fan, and we all know that Mr. Spock hated birds because he found them illogical. But the question, I know you happen to have a different fandom that you tend to go to.
Yes, well, I am a big Doctor Who fan. I also a big Marvel fan.
Okay, so favorite Marvel hero.
Oh, I have a lot
on my mask.
Yeah, I don't know. I hate to say it because then everybody's like, "Oh, everybody loves him."
That's okay.
So, I would have to say it would be between. I love the actor who plays Spider-Man, so I think he's pretty awesome. I love Tony Stark, Captain America, and then everybody on Guardians of the Galaxy.
Everybody.
They're just awesome. The whole Guardians of the Galaxy people are fabulous. Plus, there's the crossover because, there's a couple Doctor Who people on there. So maybe just one. One.
I'm with you on the Guardians of the Galaxy. I think they kind of hit the same reason that I like Star Trek so much, is because I tend to enjoy stories that are more team-oriented. That it's a group of people rather than one particular person.
Although I'm really, really scared for Thor being in Guardians.
Oh, really? Why's that?
Because I think... So Skylord he is the awkward, but he's the leader. And when you put in somebody who is like, I don't know, it's like putting in, I can't think of a good description, but you've taken this fabulous, great guy who's awkward and weird and strange, and you've put in like this God.
Amazing specimen of manhood, yes. Yeah.
Yes, and now all of a sudden, Skylord's going to be the sidekick.
See, I don't see it going that direction myself, partially because Thor has been a part of teams and he's never really been the leader. I mean, they talk about him leading his own group, but that group kind of just doesn't really do anything. And when he was a leader with them, he messed up.
Yeah, but when you look at what they've made Skylord into, compare in the places where he's been in with Thor, it's always been like, oh, he's the sidekick goofy guy that's not really worth it.
Well, Micron-X also wants to point out, got to remember, Star-Lord is not just a human person. That's a half planet, half human person. So we may, actually, that might actually be an interesting thing to see, is like, Thor thinks that this is going to happen, and yeah, that's neat. I think it's going to be, I've liked Thor's ability to be on a team I'm
hoping.
Ones, so yeah. Anyway, that's enough geeky stuff, I think. So let's see. We asked about what kind of art. Oh, so we asked what kind of art you like to do. What are some artists that you admire, aside from the amazing Zoë Olson, of course?
Aside from the amazing Zay. I come from a family of artists. So my mother and father are both artists, full-time, been artists all their lives. And I've been around artists all my life. And all of my parents' friends are artists. So my house is covered with artwork that's done by people that I knew or my parents knew. And so definitely my parents would qualify in the top of the realm. And then probably Van Gogh would be up there.
You're pronouncing that in the proper way, aren't you?
Yeah, sorry, Van Gogh. I don't know. I love art in general. I love to go to art museums and just look at things and see different art perspectives. And I love to go with my mom and sit and watch and have her chat about it. And I don't know. It's a lot of art.
Yeah.
It's a complicated question because I grew up with nothing but artists. So.
Gotcha. Do you have a favorite art museum?
I'm a really fan of the Philadelphia Art Museum because I was, raised in it basically. But my mother and I went to an art museum in Ecuador, which was, and it was an art museum specifically to one artist. And I cannot say his name. He's an Ecuadorian artist, and he has this big, long, giant name that has more consonants than I think is proper for a name. But his art museum was really beautiful and was really nicely done. See if somebody in the chat can tell us what his name was. If you type in Ecuador and famous artist, he's the one that comes up.
Gotcha. And,
yeah.
Everybody's looking at Julia, who is the resident artist there.
I don't know, but it was really a spectacular visit. An art museum that I was disappointed with was, and don't hate me, everybody, but I went to the Louvre. Yes, that's him, Julia. I went to the Louvre and I was less impressed than I should have been, I think. Yes, too many vowels, not too many consonants.
Gotcha.
And he studied a lot of Picasso, that's true. Yeah.
Gotcha. Picasso.
You go ahead and see if you can say that name, Gray.
Oh, not even going to try. I've used up all of my name pronouncing magic today. I think for me, one of the things that I used to never like Mondrian very much. I just thought this, what is the point? It's just squares and lines and stuff like that. And then I went to a retrospective that showed his earliest sketchbooks, and you could see the progression as he went on as to where he was going, and seeing it in that context, suddenly I was like, oh, now I see now it makes so much more sense. So yeah,
it's always fun to see, and that's one of the things that this museum did was they would show like a Picasso and then his rendition of what that same Picasso might be. And so it was really interesting to see, from a more in-depth perspective.
Nice. Jay Madalena says, unpopular opinion, Picasso's early work was the best work of his. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I think, wait, what did Essence of Erin say? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was.
I'm going to steal Essence of Erin's pun and say that trying to pronounce the guy's name would be too much of a burden.
Yeah.
Yes.
We got to swing back to that bird thing.
Of course, we cannot get away from the bird. Yeah, I agree. I'm one of the weird ones, and this may be part of the whole being a returning adult student. No, I take it back, because I actually took a semester of school early on, like in the traditional level, like right when I graduated high school, and then dropped out for many years, and then went back. I loved my art history classes. Like people talk about, oh my God, it's so boring. I'm like, I couldn't wait for art history. Sitting in a theater and seeing these beautiful slide projections of things. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I went down for the, what is his name? The guy who did the Campbell soup cans.
Yeah. Why am I thinking? I just went to his museum.
Yeah. And I can't think of it right now.
Well, thank you, Warhol.
Wow. Thank you.
We lost so much cred by not being able to name Warhol, except we will say we are both over 40, so we're allowed to forget things.
I went to the Warhol exhibit, and it was amazing. I will say that Chicago Art Museum is pretty awesome too. And as I was walking through the Warhol stuff, I said, oh, look, he was in New York at the same time as my parents. So I call my dad up and I'm like, hey, did you ever meet Andy Warhol? Did you ever go into his studio? And my dad's like, yeah, we were at the same party once, but I never got to meet him. Like,
right. Oh, now we're getting all kinds of memory jokes in there. I want to tell everybody, when you start getting older, memory is the second thing to go. So, be careful with that.
I don't remember what the first thing is, though.
Exactly. So cool. Let's
Art Institute.
Let's get into the lightning round, because we're just about out of time. You did a good job. By the way, in case you were worried, you did a great job filling up the interview segment.
Okay, good. But the lightning round, I'm in trouble for, because I can't remember anybody's names in terms of authors. You're going to just.
We will customize it to you. So.
Okay.
So first question is, what's your beverage of choice?
A combination of, not a combination of, because I don't like them together, but I love, and again, don't yell at me for this, I love Starbucks chai tea latte, and I don't like them in like other places, because I like them sweet, and that's just how they make them. And probably Coke. Coca-Cola.
Coke.
Not.
Okay. So speaking of the artists that you like, the last name of that artist is pronounced, and I'm relying on you, Saucefire. So any mistakes here are now his fault, not mine. Guayasameen or Guayasameen?
I think it's Guayasameen.
Guayasameen?
I'm not sure. I don't know. We just kept saying that guy.
Yeah. Okay. Essence of Aaron is bringing the puns to a let's see if I can get this right. A unpheasant and awkward stage. Boy. They did have the name of your sequel though. The second Dirty Birds book could be called Cockatoo.
Cockatoo. Yeah. That's a good one.
So second one, what's your favorite food? Like when you need comfort food, I want to have whatever I want. What's it going to be?
Comfort food would probably be some sort of dish that had pasta in it.
Any kind of pasta?
Yeah, anything with pasta.
Gotcha. See, I feel we get like something like a Philly cheesesteak or something like that in there.
I do love a Philly cheesesteak, but a comfort food, you just can't get a Philly cheesesteak if you're not in Philly. It just doesn't work.
So
we can go into the possibilities. I like that. Think of the possibilities.
Is it great? Now we're going, okay. And if I told you that I just finished this great book by Naomi Novik, A Deadly Education, that you can get on Worldbuilders, no, public plug there. But what should I read next? What would you recommend?
Well, what should you read next? You probably already read the thing that I'm reading currently, but I'm reading Pat's second book right now, the one that comes after The Name of the Wind.
Wise Man's Fear.
Wise Man's Fear. Yes. So I just started that one.
I have in fact read that and So have probably a couple other people. No spoilers. But yeah, we hired her even though she had not read Pat's books. So
Yes. But I'm reading it now. I read the first one, and I read constantly. So I always have a book by my bedside and an audiobook going. And in fact, if I'm working on something that doesn't involve me writing anything, which is best, I will have my audiobook going while I'm doing Illustrator stuff.
yeah, that makes sense. Cool. What are you
I don't know.
What are you listening to right now?
Let's see. I have to look. I don't know what it's called. It's called Fury Born.
What is it?
This is the cover. Fury Born.
The background image. Not going to show it.
Yeah. Oh, there it is.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that didn't work. But anyway.
Cool. Who is this Pat you speak of?
I don't know. Some guy. I've never met him.
That's
And,
true.
you know, I will say that I specifically told my father, who's also reads a ton, and I said, you should read this book, you would like it. And he sends me a picture of it like a month later, and he says, did you tell me to read this book? And I said, yeah. I said, that's the guy who started Worldbuilders. He's like, you know this guy? This is really good. Like, yeah, well, he's famous for a reason.
Yeah, it's and I'm sure you'll get to read it at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he loved it. So
Cool. All right, so that works. I can take that as a recommendation. Next lightning round question: if you watch TV, what is your what is your favorite? Like I say, hey, I'm looking for something good to watch. I just finished watching the most recent episode of Lovecraft Country. I'm looking for something else good. What should I watch?
if you haven't seen The Umbrella Academy, you should see that.
Oh, yes, I have. I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah. The other one would be, so can I give you a couple?
Sure.
I love cooking shows, so we've been watching the Great British Cooking Show.
My partner Natasha was watching that too. Yeah.
Yeah. What else? Oh, I'm waiting patiently for the new season of the Fabulous Mrs. Marple. Is that what it's called?
Mrs. Maisel.
Maisel, that's her
Yes.
name. Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
just came
another-
out soon.
That's really good.
Little Sky Face says it's Chocolate Week this week.
Oh, that sounds fabulous. Anything chocolate sounds good.
Oh man, Essence of Aaron is trying to make a joke about reading Pat's books is like reading poultry.
No, that doesn't work. It's
There
like
you go.
reading an ostrich because it's so heavy.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
It's
think
really heavy.
We are talking about having a thing saying how Pat's books are better than other books because they can stop bullets better than other books.
They can. And in fact, as I was reading it last night, I was tapping on the back of it. It makes a really lovely sound when you tap on the book because it's so many.
Percussion. Yes.
Yeah.
We need to have all of his different editions laid out and play a drum solo kind of thing on it.
Yeah.
That would be
It does.
awesome.
It makes a really lovely sound.
Nice. All right. So here's the complicated one. I have a magic wand that happens to look like a fountain pen, but it's a magic wand, and I can wave this wand, and you can have a socially distanced, enjoyable coffee or tea, chai. Sit down and talk with anyone, alive, dead, fictional, real, anyone at all. Who would you like to have manifest?
I guess I would have to say Doctor Who.
Which doctor?
Oh, probably Tennant.
Was he
10.
he was the 10th? I thought I was more than that. He must be
Nope.
Oh, Tennant.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm saying
Ten.
what number
Tennant.
was he? You know, I go by the numbers of the doctors, so.
He's 10.
He's number 10? Okay, gotcha.
You're not. I wouldn't argue with me about that one.
No, not at all. Not at all. Definitely not. Jeannie V did sign out, and here's a good question for you.
Oh, yeah, it does depend. but John doesn't count. John Hurt, it doesn't count. He's 9.5 or 8.5.
All right, I can say I don't want to get into a fan battle here, so okay.
Yeah, no, he's considered 8.5 because, then they went ahead. We didn't know about him. He's the one that doesn't count, is what they call it. They say they don't count him.
Well, I guess so. Okay. Well, the last question, and we're a little over time now, is what is something in your workspace that people would be surprised is there? You don't have to show it. Just if there's something there that people will be like, huh, wouldn't have thought you'd have one of those there.
Well, okay, now that we've talked about Doctor Who, you wouldn't be, I guess you'd be surprised at how many pieces of Doctor Who things I have around me.
Okay.
Or maybe this tiny little iron.
Oh, that's cute. Is
Yeah.
it? Huh. Why do you have that?
It's a real, honest to goodness antique iron. It's heavy.
Used for ironing socks.
They used to stick them in the fire.
Mm-hmm.
I have it.
You only got one iron in the fire. I get it. It's a focus mechanism. Don't want to have too many irons in the fire.
Right, no.
Gotcha. Or in case you need to play a game of giant Monopoly. Bye, Esther Severin. Good to see you. All right. Well, we are out of time, and people can find your stuff at Zoe's Design. That's ZOESDESIGN.space. And you're also on Instagram and Facebook as Zoë Rickenbach. And that's spelled ZOERICKENBACH.
And on Facebook, I'm actually Zoe Kirschenstein Rickenbach.
Ah, okay.
Because, I had to make it longer.
I will let people find you. That it'll be like a scavenger hunt if they want to do that.
I think if you put in Zoe Rickenbach, you probably find me too.
Right.
There aren't a lot of me's.
And you're also going to sign a box of books, and I will be bringing them up here to Worldbuilders. So if you happen to order a book in the next few days, we can probably get it personalized. Just leave a note in the note to seller area, and we will see about getting them personalized.
And I'm also donating some for prizes.
Yes, and there will also be some in the end of year thing. So next week you can tune in for another illustrator. You may have seen our interview with Gideon Marcus of Galactic Journey next week on, I believe it's actually going to be the 21st. We will be having an interview at 4 p.m. Central with Lorelei Marcus, who is the illustrator for the several books that are published through Galactic Journey. And I think Gideon's going to be there too. So a lot of more going back to 1965 type of stuff. Author of Ketra, and also retrospective? I can't remember what the name of the book was. And I should know because it's back there. But we have several books, anthologies and things like that by Gideon Marcus, and he and Lorelei are going to be on. So thank you for the puns, everyone. That was absolutely. Are there any birds that have to do with moose? Meese?
Not that I know of, but probably.
Okay.
Well, there's no, that's a mouse.
Yeah,
no.
The titmoose. There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then remember, everyone, if you have somebody you'd like to see us interview or type, feel free to let us know. We would love to talk with them. And we have lots of things added to the market for unique or common, rare, and even epic level items like autographed editions of favorite books. We're also putting together new products. For example, you know that we often have Karen Hallian's calendars featured every year because we love her work, and we're going to have that again. But we also are going to have a Worldbuilders wall calendar being released pretty soon, designed by our very own illustrator Zoë Rickenbach, and featuring art from people such as Simonetti or this other person you might have heard of named Nate Taylor for the first two. Please always give us any comments, compliments, suggestions to questions@worldbuilders.org. And we appreciate you joining us. We know there are lots of Twitch streams We know you could have watched the Apple event right now, but instead you were here, and we appreciate that. Tune in next week, same time, noon, Central Daylight Time, twitch.tv/worldbuilders. And now it's time for the sign-off. Viva Moose!